While Meghan Markle desperately tries to pretend that all is wonderful in her oh-so-perfect Montecito world, the pesky truth keeps rearing its awkward head and getting in the way. And that, by the way, is the truth, as opposed to the fabled Meghan truth that never quite gels with reality. As the difficult Duchess struggles to persuade her increasingly sceptical followers that her hastily renamed lifestyle site is poised for glorious global success, she insists she is not a tyrannical bully. Trouble is, so many members of the so-called Sussex Survivors Club who have worked for her and left say that's exactly what she is. Now, the guy who set the bully ball rolling when the former American cable show actress was evidently making life hell for British palace staff has spoken publicly for the first time. And the Sussex's ex-press secretary, Jason Kanoff, declared that he has no regrets after raising the alarm about Meghan's behaviour towards royal employees, which he described as, and I quote, totally unacceptable. Appearing on the 60 Minutes Australia special Where There's a Will, New Zealand-born Kanoff said he wouldn't change a thing and emphatically stood by his decision to alert the royal family, including the late Queen, to his belief that Meghan bullied at least 2 personal assistants out of the household in just one terribly turbulent year. This is precisely the dubious past that Meghan has been attempting to block out with a blizzard of fun-filled positive publicity gimmicks, kissing Harry's lips off at the Invictus Games in Canada and posting lightweight tosh about Billie Eilish and fruit preserves on her Instagram account. But whether the Duchess likes it or not, the bullying charges are now a permanent feature of her damaging backstory. The Hollywood Reporter published a thorough investigation of the, and I quote, tyrant in high heels back in September, and the January edition of America's Bible of magazines, Vanity Fair, carried an 8,000-word report on her cruel antics, which sent one traumatised worker into long-term therapy. More than 20 Montecito minions have quit since Meghan moved Harry to the California coast. Meanwhile, Meghan's problem-plagued business venture remains in a deep sea of trouble. Her not-so-new as-ever brand means she cannot sell clothes thanks to 2 clothing companies with the same name. And in any case, it transpires that nothing will go on sale for months, and therefore the commercial synergy with the March the 4th release of her Netflix cooking show With Love, Meghan simply isn't going to happen. The frantic all change to as ever has also secretly entailed the sudden reworking of old American Riviera Orchard promotional material, blotting out the redundant former words and projecting in the new. One video put out there as current even stars Meghan's beloved dog Guy, who sadly died 2 months ago. All of this frenzied 11th hour revisionism is what's technically known in the commerce arena as panic, making the best of a very bad job. Nevertheless, Meghan is adamant that in this money-spinning endeavour, Netflix are her excited partners, and it's all going swimmingly. There it is again, Meghan's truth. But an increasing number of industry critics are convinced that the truth tells a very different story. A car crash saga in which a naive minor TV star failed to spot the legal dangers in just plucking a name from the ether and becoming embroiled in a swirling mass of lawsuits and trademark challenges. An ongoing disaster that has seen Meghan make the same mistakes all over again, potentially sued not only by other firms called As Ever, but also by the Spanish village of Perores, the residents of which fume, with some justification, that she's nicked their 2 birds and 1 palm tree logo. The Duchess is finding out that an amateur hobbyish interest in cooking and gardening does not a business empire make. we wish Meghan well. But as she carries on crashing around like a know-nothing kid in a china shop, her tin pot tycoon dreams of a lucrative commercial triumph are doomed to end in tears.
Rupert Bell, you took one for the team, old Rupert. I feel like I should give you a plaque, a trophy, at least a hug. Thanks so much for sitting through With Love, Meghan.
Well, my normal day job, and next week, I have one of the best weeks of my life, which is what we call the Cheltenham Festival, which is a huge sporting event in this country for horse racing fans. And that's been in my DNA since I was knee high. So in my preparations, I had to take a day out of my preparations for the week ahead at Cheltenham to submit to the 8 hours or the 8 episodes of With Love from Meghan or With Love Meghan. And you when you approach these things and you try and think, well, would it be all right? You know, you have to, and whenever you're going to look at something, trying to go in with open views. I'm going to say, look, lots of people were raving about the Bridget Jones new movie. For me, it was a cliched rom-com. And it wasn't as good as the first two, right? So I'm just saying, but I still wanted to go and see it and had high hopes because, you know, we've all maybe enjoyed the first two. But I come out of that going, yeah, there was a couple of funny lines, a couple of funny instances, but it actually wasn't good. So I approached With Love and Meghan. We know we've talked about her a lot in other programs. So I try to approach it with, right, a clean slate. I've seen the trailers, which have put me into a negative vibe anyway, because it looks a bit odd. So I have to then say, right, let's go. I open up with the bees, and I'm thinking, she's the best dressed beekeeper I've ever seen. Or person going out to
that's a nice compliment.
Well, no, I overdone. You know, I've got down where I live, my local guy who produces bees. I mean, he's out there in his farming kit every day. You know, okay, he dons the suit, but he's not got. Well, no, I don't think he has. He's called Rupert, incidentally, and it's not me. But the local guy, works on the land out here, but he has a side hobby of keeping bees. But he doesn't he doesn't have a camera crew, but he goes out there in normal looking clothes. Well, of course, she's got more makeup on than you can shake a stick at. And she's sort of fawning all over these bees. Then we turn up in the free house that they've been given with their production crew. And then she's making things you put in rooms. And I think this is everybody, as soon as they saw her opening up that bag of, what was it? Pretzels, anyway, special flavored pretzels for a guy who she then says, you know, just put on there, make sure they know it's nuts. But even though this is supposed to be her best friend or makeup artist, into another plastic bag, you think, what am I watching? From there on in, you go, that's different. So different that I'm not actually sure what planet she's on from that moment onwards. But I try to keep coming back and think, come on, come on, come on. But I couldn't. And that was
I feel like I think I was uglier yesterday about it than, well, I was exhausted because my coverage started at 10:30 p.m. Monday night.
Well, I noticed your WhatsApp, you're 8 hours behind me, and I'm watching your WhatsApp. And I think, what are you doing up at 4 o'clock in the morning? I think I sent you a WhatsApp and said, go to bed. Go to sleep, right?
I did feel like yesterday I was probably cranky and tired. I did come at it from a very, I think I came at it from a very technical perspective. Like, you know what, I feel like this content would have been more affected in short form video versus these 45-minute long episodes that I felt like were aimless and dull and really didn't offer us anything new, especially about her, who she really was or her real life. Okay, Harry put salt on his plate no matter what. That doesn't do anything for me. But today, now that I've had a nice nap and time to process everything, I'm disappointed. I don't, you know, like, I'm not going to be cruel and be like, this is this most boring thing I've ever seen. Although, you know, I'm disappointed that she would leave the life she had behind to do this. I'm disappointed that she would step away from a real life of service and serving the British, you know, the British people, and have the opportunity to live in a beautiful place, a beautiful part of the world. I'd love to live in Windsor, to do what I witnessed her doing. And she and Harry, now I had a couple of arguments about this yesterday. People say they never said they wanted more privacy. Well, actions speak louder than words, Rupert, and they sue everybody and their mother. Whether you take a photo of them, whether you publish their letter, their actions say they want a private life. But what they did hint at when they left was that the royal family was holding them back from something, from doing something better. And that's not what I witnessed yesterday.
Well, she said she's rediscovered her creativity. Wasn't that one of the statements at the end? Well, that's
Freezing water?
Freezing water and putting flour. I mean, the big takeaway is flower petals, isn't it? Flowers on everything, which is so down with everybody else who you may be struggling with their bills, the cost of living crisis, you name it. And you go, right, that's what you want for children. And here's the thing, when you see the executive producer, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, she doesn't want to be part of this family. And the other thing that was a big takeaway, family and friends, well, who are the family? Mm-hmm. Well, her husband, who lives, in the same house, they're not coming to see her, and then her mother. So there's no family. There's just that close-knit family of four that they are, and their mother. And also what I did notice, she seems to have airbrushed her father out of her childhood. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you probably know more than I think he was very much as hands-on dad as he possibly could be, given that he was working in Hollywood and doing his lighting director to very good effect.
Got her first acting job on General Hospital. I mean, she not only was he a hands-on dad, spoiled her. She got much more attention than the older two children, but he helped her. He kicked down the doors for her in Hollywood.
So this is where I'm thinking, well, it's not family and friends. And even at the end, we never saw even back shots of the children. I would have liked, you don't have to show their faces if that's what they're worried about. And you can go back to Princess, the Prince and Princess of Wales. Okay, we get opportunities to see their children. We saw them in the video of Kate in the summer holidays. We get opportunities to see them interacting with her parents. We see them. They're not a closed shop. Now, if Meghan and Harry don't want that, that's fine. But that party at the end, where were the children running around and saying, well done, Mummy?
Rupert, they planned an entire children's party and there were no children. The Mindy Kaling episode is a children's party and there are no children.
Well,
and
why don't we see them? And even if it's
but she shows Lily to promote the show on Instagram. Did you see that video with Serena Williams? So it's almost like she understood that people were going to be disappointed that there were no kids. So she sneaks them in the promotional phase, hoping that lures people into the show to see if they get more.
I think there was some fairly seeds in a party bag. I mean, I'm old fashioned. When I was brought up, we went to children's parties, birthday parties. We never got a thing. We should have, you brought a present for the person you went to. You did not expect to leave with a stack full of presents yourself. And I find the whole thing absolutely ludicrous. So maybe because I'm a bar humbug, because you're going to somebody's house to celebrate their birthday, it's not a chance for you to get a gift. Now, am I wrong? Or, that's probably an old-fashioned take on it. But this birthday, even I can see, my young children, it started becoming vogue. Well, my youngest is now 40, living in Los Angeles, not a million miles from you. But anyway, that's another story. But, party bags started to come in. But it basically was a few sweets and just a few little knickknacks, but as cheap as you could make it and hand it and send them away. Lots of sweets. So the parents taking their children home, sugared up to the eyeballs, going absolutely mad. So not ideal. You've made me watch since 8 o'clock, an episode and a half of With Love from Meghan. Thank you, Mike.
I'm very sorry for you. I didn't ask you to do that, but I really appreciate that you've watched it so that nobody else has to. Let's have a look at the original trailer to give us a flavour of what we can expect.
I've always loved taking something pretty ordinary and elevating it. Surprising people with moments that let them know I was really thinking of them.
What? This is probably one of the most glamorous moments of my life. It's magic.
I'm going to share some little tips and tricks. I see what color I gravitate to, and everything goes from there. And how you can incorporate these practices every day. That's what you want. You want that shape and texture. Come on. This is about connecting with friends. I love that we're doing this together for the first time. Making new friends. That is so good.
We're family now.
And just learning. Look at how much honey we have.
Do you believe in love?
We're not in the pursuit of perfection. Woke us all up. We're in the pursuit of joy.
Have you seen him, Joey? Oh my God! Is that what it's? Is that it then? We should introduce her to Lindsay Hoyle. You could probably spend a few quid there.
Can I just say, I've learnt one of the great things to do with yogurt. Put it in a bowl with some fruit on top and honey.
Really? Now, that's,
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
No, I've never thought of that. And she's not winning Bake Off, I don't think, because I've seen her make a cake, and I don't think Paul Hollywood would be particularly impressed with what she's done there. And look, she's the first episode. I think she's got her long-standing makeup artist with her, so she's got her friend, and of course he's gushing at all opportunities. It's not even filmed, as we know, in her house, and she says at various stages, well, I'm going to take it up to my house. Well, she's in this very expensive kitchen, cooking with very expensive, cookers, you know, lots of Le Creuset all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel that the production staff are preparing everything. She doesn't look the most natural cook. Now, I may be wrong. I'm probably not the target market for this program.
No, but I mean, how long is it? Half an hour per episode or something?
Well, no, the first one was 41 minutes. Luckily, the second one, I've only got about 10 minutes into the second
And you
one.
don't have to do a big...
And it's 37 minutes, the second one. So I'm hoping they get shorter as we go along.
Yeah,
but
by the time we get to episode 10, it's only 4 minutes.
Well, I think we've only got 8 of them to go through. But the point being, look, she's trying to create this wonderful idyllic, and nothing needs to be perfect. Well, there she is in this multi-million-pound villa cooking, and it just looks, to me, fake. Now, I may be wrong, but, you know, and of course she's talking about her children, how she likes, and I haven't quite got there, how she likes to make rainbow patterns with fruit. Now, I think we've seen it in trailers for her children. Now, and she also refers to in the first episode the before, during, and after, and that's the only reference to her status, you know, what's happened to her in recent years.
Right.
But, you know, liking to make pretty bowls of fruit for your children, I mean, I'm sorry. What do most people do? It's 100 miles an hour, trying to give them good ingredients if you can, but this is just ersatz.
Well, it is. I mean, nobody's got time for this.
That's the problem for me.
Well, I mean, we've got the clip of the fruit. This is just ridiculous. Make a rainbow with fruit if you've got about 3 hours before the kids have to go out.
You see where our rainbow is coming together here? And you don't have to do a big platter of this. You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast, genuinely, and it makes the morning a lot more fun. But can I just show you if you just made one? Just a little morning plate. It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent. And it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do, but when you can take a minute to just...
Saturday morning.
Yeah. Finding the fun in those moments makes for a really sweet start to the weekend. We could do a little dollop of yogurt as our clouds. Flour sprinkles, if we must. It doesn't need to be big for a party. It's how you incorporate these practices every day.
Yeah. I don't know how much time you have in the morning, Rupert, but that looks like a little bit too much like hard work. I've got this from Joe in Cornwall. He says, who on earth slices blueberries? Have you ever seen kids eating blueberries? Their faces and hands are covered in blue juice. Now slice the blueberries. What the heck for? Maximum impact. I guess it doesn't matter when the maid will clean the kitchen, the nanny will clean the kids.
Well, this is it. There is a row of staff, and yes, she's saying Saturday morning, but who puts flour sprinkles on their fruit? I mean, I'm sorry, that is just not what most people do. I mean, what does flour sprinkles cost? It might be
Where
expensive.
do you even get flour sprinkles? I don't know.
Well, I think you probably can. Look, I love a food program. When you see things genuinely, you love the hairy bikers, love Keith Floyd when he was,
great,
burst on the scene. You see other, really interesting.
Nigella Lawson's a bit interesting.
Well, but she created, this is what, in a way, Meghan is trying to create this sort of Nigella feel. And there's talk, I haven't seen the Pamela Anderson one, but this may be a bit of a rip-off of what Pamela Anderson's done.
Right.
I don't know for sure. But it just doesn't feel genuine. If it was genuine, why can't she do it in her own house and make it look like it's a house that's lived in? But there's a production crew cleaning up after her, probably mapping everything out and ready for her. And all she's got to do is pour it in to whatever jar she's making. And then the guest I saw said, well, that's the best thing I've ever eaten. Of course she's not going to say. We all know that when you see these food programs, they always sort of, there's an element of fakery about it. No one's going to turn around and say, what you've cooked, Meghan, is a load of tosh, because that wouldn't actually be selling the program, although it might be more authentic.
But it's also saccharine and awful, isn't it, though? I mean, it's just dreadful, the way she speaks, the way she claps her little hands together and goes, oh, it's all about joy. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, it is. Look, clearly I'm not the target market, and I'm a grumpy old man just like you are, Mike. So we may not be the target market for this program. But at the moment, she's trying to lifestyle this program. Are we going to see her jam? Where's she sourcing her raspberries for a jam? Yes, we've seen a nice shot of a place near her where she's picking blackberries and everything. But if she's trying to make this a commercial venture, she's got to be already out there sourcing the good products to make it work and viable. But we're not really hearing anything like that. She's got the new brand now, as ever, which has run into trademark difficulties in certain areas of what she's trying to do. So the whole program for me is disingenuous. Yes, she may like doing it, but I can assure you those hands do not look like they get out in the garden and are planting their seeds for this year's crop. I'm absolutely convinced.
And she hasn't even bought any of the stuff either. I mean, I used to do a bit of this in my time when I was at Talk Sport. I used to do a little bit of a sort of a vodcast of cooking and shopping. But you made it funny, You go to the pub, you go to the supermarket, you buy some things, take them home, cook them. People actually quite enjoyed watching it. Oh, this is just awful, dreadful.
Well, look, I'll let you know after I've seen 8 programs, but I can assure you at the moment my heart is it's not anything original, and that's what it's beautifully produced and shot, and the music's all fine and dandy, but it's nothing original.
And does Harry appear in it at any point or not?
Well, I believe he makes a brief appearance at the end, but it's what we saw in this People article.
What, to do the washing up, presumably?
Well, it's about, Harry is just so pleased to see Meghan getting back to what she loves doing best.
Cooking.
Putting things nice, opening up a packet of salted peanuts so that a guest can feel welcome, and actually popping some corn in the microwave. Well, we've all done that. There is nothing original so far. And as I say, looking at the food, I know she's saying that it shouldn't be about perfection, it should be about joy, but none of the food looks to me anything original at all. It's all so she can make herself look good. I may be wrong, and if it's a success, there may be plenty of people watching it because of her name, but the fact that she loves being the Sussex is such an important part of her life now. Well, if it's such an important part of her life, she better come back to Britain to rediscover why she is called the Duchess
she's only
of
been
Sussex.
to Sussex once for about 6 hours, isn't that one of the stories?
That may be the case. However,
and I go to Sussex every weekend, so I don't fancy her coming to Sussex anytime soon, thanks. Don't invite her.
Well, anyway,
I
I better go and watch the rest of this highly entertaining program. I will remember Pancake Day. I'm hoping she does make a pancake, but at the moment we haven't. Remember, this program was supposed to have been launched in January.
Yes.
So they possibly have missed a trick to celebrate Pancake Day today as it should be.
Yes.
And maybe there should have been the children racing with pancakes around the garden, because pancake racing is part of the tradition of the day.
Of course. Well, they won't be able to do all that in America, though, because Harry will be told that's not what they do, is it? I mean, it's probably racist or something. Now, you must be literally a bundle of wits waiting for this incredible new show, With Love, from Meghan. You must be waiting for it.
I mean, Meghan, some of her advice that she gave People magazine this week was how she likes to take her Chinese takeout and make it look beautiful on the plate. And, you know, that's the kind of advice I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Expert opinions I'm looking for when it comes to making life a little bit more beautiful with my Chinese takeout.
Yes. I mean, I think we can get a pretty good flavour of what we're going to expect from the With Love show, because she's a very busy working woman, as we know, right? And she sympathises with all the other working women in America, even though she's working in somebody else's kitchen. Let's have a look at what she suggests you do for your children's breakfast platter.
You see where our rainbow is coming together here? And you don't have to do a big platter of this. You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast, genuinely, and it makes the morning a lot more fun. But can I just show you if you just made one? Just a little morning plate. It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent. And it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do, but when you can take a minute to just...
Saturday morning.
Yeah. Finding the fun in those moments makes for a really sweet start to the weekend. We could do a little dollop of yogurt as our clouds. Flour sprinkles, if we must. It doesn't need to be big for a party. It's how you incorporate these practices every day.
You imagine being married to her. Oh, hi, Meghan. What have you got for breakfast? Oh, I've made a rainbow from some fruit and some yogurt and some
Just give me a box
sprinkles.
of Lucky Charms,
Yeah,
Mike.
right. How about a bacon sandwich? Any chance of that, you know? What's going on? I mean, any working woman would take about 4 hours to do that. They haven't got time.
No, exactly. I'm grabbing my protein shake that's been sitting in the back of my car for 3 months. The taste is off, and I've got work to do.
Right.
Yeah,
You're driving with one hand, you're putting your lipstick on, you know, you're doing your face in the traffic.
all over the face.
You know, that's what you do. It's what people do. I mean, what the hell is she talking about?
I can
Peter
reveal,
Blexley's here.
I can reveal, Kinsey, that a friend of mine works for Netflix and was at the meeting when this whole idea was dreamt up. And what happened was the executives said to Meghan, they said, you know, you used to be an actress, apparently.
Yeah.
Do you think you could write a really hard-hitting screenplay that we could make into an award-winning drama?
Yes.
And she said, no. They said, OK. They said, is there any particular cause that you feel strongly about that you could make a hard-hitting documentary about?
Yeah.
And she said, what's the cause?
Right.
And then they said, right, OK, what can you actually do? She said, I can slice a strawberry.
Yeah.
And they said, that's it. That's the answer.
Yeah.
And this is what you get.
You would have to worry, wouldn't you, if you had shares in Netflix going, well, who's coming up with this rubbish?
Well, I do think that that's why this was not formally presented at the upfronts meeting that Netflix recently had with some of their biggest stars and investors,
Right.
Where they were teasing their 2025 lineup. Meghan was nowhere to be found in the paperwork. She received a brief mention when she was the butt of a joke by one of the comedians on stage. But other than that, they haven't really been promoting this. You know, I could spend an hour on Pinterest and do all of this, if not more. And this is just, it's very vanilla. It's very bland. It's very safe. And I don't understand I think the objective ultimately is to change public perception about her. Rainbows, butterflies, bees, I'm joy, you know.
Right, but
when
except
in reality,
it won't change public perception. It will just make us even more convinced that she's a complete narcissistic Wally with nothing much to do.
You're right, because I've never seen somebody that's so impressed with themselves. So when she's excited to be showing us the mini rainbow and she's like, oh, can I show you this? What the heck I've scrolled through Instagram and see the exact same platter, 967 times. These are not original ideas. These are not original thoughts. And what happened to your life of service? And I heard you a couple of times mention the Sussex line, how she's like really pushing the Sussex name. And to me, that's her trying to justify the fact that she insists we continue to refer to her as a Duchess. Right. Well, I'm the Duchess of Sussex. That's a family name. This is really important to me. Actually, it's important for your brand because otherwise you were the deal or no deal girl. Right. And your marriage to Prince Harry is the reason why Netflix gives you opportunities like this to create something hyper mediocre that anybody with an iPhone camera could create and throw up on their YouTube channel.
I mean, I made some mashed potatoes last night. I now wish I'd filmed it and sent it to Netflix to make a 10-part series, because, quite frankly, I'm funnier than she is, I'm also drinking a glass of wine at the same time, it's a much more interesting kitchen, and believe it or not, actually my kitchen.
It's your kitchen.
And it was a packet of Smash, wasn't it?
No, I'm not having that from you, Blexley. No, I've made it from scratch. I peeled the potatoes, I put them in a pot of boiling water, I boiled the water, I put some salt in it, I emptied the water out, and I put them back into the pan. I put some butter, some milk, some salt, some pepper, a little bit of mustard, and listen, that's how I roll. And I could have made that into a 3-part series, I'm sure.
You could have, because one of the things about the show is while there's cooking in the kitchen, she actually doesn't say, like, you need 1 cup of this, 1 cup of that. It's really all about her personality and conversations. Yeah. Again, that's why I'm saying this is a PR exercise, because we've been told through the Vanity Fair, the Hollywood Reporter, the Telegraph, and all of these prestigious outlets for the last 5 years that this woman is a bully. She's difficult to work
that's
with.
A series that's a series I would watch. I mean, her shouting at her staff and humiliating them, and then making Harry get down on his knees and beg for forgiveness because he's gone out for a beer with his mates. I would watch that show.
Yeah, I'd watch Meghan Markle trapped in a house with Thomas and Samantha Markle before I'd sit down and enjoy watching this.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Listen, Kinsey, delightful to see you as ever. The bumper sticker's on its way to you, and it will be there, hopefully, God willing, in the next 3 or 4 days. Great to see you, 6:45. I mean, Peter, what can you say about this bloody woman, Meghan Markle?
Mike.
Sussex is a name I'm really involved with.
Mike, now, you have my absolute permission to slap me round the head here, right? If I need it.
Go.
Okay? And I think I possibly do.
Okay.
I'm beginning to feel a little bit sorry for her. Right? Okay. Because it's all so pathetic.
It really is. It's awful.
I mean, it truly is.
And you'd be embarrassed, wouldn't you? To be married to her or to be her.
Yeah. I mean, and the way she's dressed in that kitchen scene where she's slicing fruit, she looks like she's dressed to go out for the night, not slice fruit.
No.
I mean...
That's apparently how she dresses for breakfast.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious me.
I know, it's shocking.
I nearly entered rehab yesterday. That is the biggest pile of crap I've ever seen on television in my life. Somebody texted me and went, "You don't use yogurt, you use cottage cheese, you twat." Honestly, I swear to God, I'm sorry, I literally, just on a purely human level, as a man with 6 children, who had to look after his children this weekend when his wife finally went away on her first girls' weekend, I nearly went to A&E on Monday morning. What mother or father, in the name of sweet Jesus, has enough time to create a fruit plate at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning when there's toast throwing around the room? And her kitchen was just sterile and awful, and I hate her. I'm so sorry, I really do.
Well, that's what I was thinking when she's like, it's so much fun. I'm like, you know what's fun? Sleeping in for 5 minutes, hitting the snooze button, not waking up at 4:30. And Meghan didn't cut all that fruit. You know, that took a team of people to cut all of that fruit up. Meghan's not sitting there cutting up all of that fruit every day. It's just it's very delusional. It's very unrealistic. And I think I've actually, since I've taken a nap, because my Meghan coverage started at 10:30 p.m. Monday night and I rolled into the day, since I've taken a nap, I actually have changed my mind a little bit. I'm less angrily annoyed by this. And I actually am starting to feel sorry for her.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
No.
Oh,
I'm just,
come
how can
on.
you be so, how can you miss the mark so many times?
No. Well, miss the Markle.
JK.
Listen, I actually would not want to be, you might say to me, oh, are you being unfair? No. I'll tell you why I don't feel sorry for her. Because she's an absolute player who manipulates the whole situation. That's the truth. I've said repeatedly, I sort of admired her and him when they said we want out of the bubble. I get that, right? She is an absolute user of the media. She uses every conceivable way to try and play the victim and score points. And what is so, to me, appalling is this, and I don't know what's wrong with her bloody husband either, it's so tone deaf to what the real world is. Everything about it.
Like Ukraine, Russia. Meghan's telling us we need to buy a balloon pumper, a balloon inflator. Like Meghan's making bath salts. Russia and Ukraine are on fire.
Can you imagine how boring she must be in bed for Prince Harry if she gets excited about yogurt clouds? What a joke she is, isn't she?
Well, I'm not going to comment on what's going down underneath the what kind of cotton must they, the Egyptian cotton.
Egyptian cotton, Sussex, Meghan, yes.
The red cow Egyptian cotton. But what I will say is, when I say I feel sorry for her, I'm embarrassed for her. This is just so embarrassing, and it looks like a parody, Jeremy. I think that this looked like a parody, like this is how the Real Housewives are supposed to live.
But that's the point and the irony, and maybe you have a point when you say sorry, because it's so delusional. She thinks she's this idiotic, and I know a little bit about television. She thinks that that's good television. She thinks that resonates with people. That, to me, smacks of how completely and utterly devoid of any real understanding you have of people. And actually, interestingly, when you look at royals and you talk, and I'm sure people have said this to you over the years, that they can sometimes come across as stuffy and privileged, and I think the royal family has changed in the last few years, and I think it needed to. But she wants nothing to do with them while slagging them off, and yet is more royal, in brackets, stuck up, pompous and up herself, than any royal that is a royal. Did you see the bit? Honestly, please don't call me Meghan Markle, call me Meghan Sussex. And then this sort of whimpering look at the camera where she went, it's just so wonderfully empowering to have the same name as one's children. Oh, you horribly odious woman. Honestly, I don't know. I can't be doing it.
Do you remember in Prince Harry's retelling and Meghan's retelling of the iciness of Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, how Meghan tries to lead us to believe in the original Netflix docuseries that they were cold to her because she was in blue jeans with holes in them and a t-shirt and barefoot when she met them. She was trying to convince us that she was the California casual cool girl, and they were stuck up and stuffy and rejected her. And then this is a woman that's wearing like stilettos in a kitchen that doesn't even belong to her.
And goes and puts a cardigan on that's cashmere to pick mint. Let me tell you about Catherine. You know, you and me would agree with this till the cows come home. Kate Middleton is more real and more wonderfully switched on.
I am going to call her. I am going to call her the Duchess. I'm going to call her the Princess of Wales. Yeah. Because she has earned those stripes. I'm not going to call Meghan Markle the Duchess of Sussex because she quit her job.
Absolutely, and Kate's just class. To me, it's so contrived. I'm still angry. So contrived. I've never seen Rupert Bell angry. Rupert Bell is more placid, right, than I don't know, a bag of tissues. He was literally raging. I've wasted 8 hours of my life watching this rubbish.
Meghan has a new documentary out on Netflix. Of course she does, because she's a working mum, as she is at pains to tell us in her new Netflix show called With Love, Meghan. It includes advice from the Duchess on how working parents, just like her, can make mornings more fun. Luckily, Talk's royal correspondent Rupert Bell has been watching it, so we don't have to. Rupert Bell, very good morning to you.
Well, morning.
Oh gosh, it's been that bad, has it? I'm led to believe it's an 8-part series, and you've managed to make it through 5 episodes. So a little round of applause to you.
Well, I have to say, occasionally I've done a bit of a speed scroll because it's the most slow-moving piece of fakery that I've managed to watch. because most of it's not filmed in her house.
Yeah.
The kitchen garden is the most manicured kitchen garden. If she's done any work in that, because I'm a bit of a gardener.
I thought you would be.
And I have to say, she must have an army of staff producing her garden, which is immaculate. This house they're using, there isn't a piece of kitchen items out of place. You know the production crew have produced absolutely everything.
Yeah.
The list of friends, there's a Korean cook who comes in who was asked to be part of the program. And I may be wrong, but he looked as if it was the last place he actually ended up wanting to be at.
But also, we're told there's a load of celebrity friends. As far as I can tell, there's sort of people like her makeup artist and some people who apparently we're supposed to have heard of, but we haven't actually heard of. I'm not entirely sure she has got celebrity friends, or indeed friends.
Well, the makeup artist is in the first episode, and she very kindly opens a bag of salted peanuts for him to welcome him to the house, amongst also popping some corn, so, have popcorn. And then she's made a jar of Epsom salts for him so he can have a lovely bath.
Wow.
This is the level we're at, okay? So and the great thing is I've learnt that you can put fruit in it with yogurt and add honey in a bowl, but I've never
Wait a minute, let me write that down.
Yeah, okay, Juliet, this is to turn you into a domestic goddess, okay? So we need a lot of help there. But anyway,
Wow! I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. No,
well,
I will not have that. Listen, I am a domestic goddess, much to my husband's surprise and my family's surprise. I cook every night. Honestly, listen, you come over to my place, I will do you my Thai banquet from scratch, including even the curry paste.
Okay, well, I think Meghan was doing some curry paste thing with the Korean cook. So, you might...
But she doesn't chop up her own shallots.
Well, she does it not like a chef's done it. She takes a long time doing it.
And also, what I love is that she does it while giggling with wonderful, perfect hair. Not something I will ever manage in my life. But also, often, I can see from the clips, wearing white, which I think is always brave in a kitchen. Let's watch. Look, sorry, everyone. If you want to just, I don't know, just sort of quietly just put earplugs in and close your eyes. You don't want to see or hear this, I understand, but it's only 25 seconds long. It's all I said I could bear. We're going to have a 25-second clip of Meghan, and this is her making a fruit platter, because, God, we need help with this. Let's have a watch and a listen, if you can bear it.
You see where our rainbow is coming together here? And you don't have to do a big platter of this. You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast, genuinely, and it makes the morning a lot more fun. It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent, and it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do, but when you can take a minute to just...
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you had the privilege of turning your radio off for that bit or not watching on video, she's literally arranging multicoloured fruit on a board in a rainbow pattern, but you can just do it on the plate because it makes breakfast more fun with your kids, because we're all busy, we've all got a lot of work to do. Just remind me, Rupert, what is her job that she gets up for every morning at 7 o'clock?
Well, not gardening, and probably telling the staff what to do.
Isn't she normally giving them their severance pay because they're always leaving?
Well, possibly. But what I have discovered is that flower petals you must sprinkle over everything. That's just, and she's very kindly told us, not everyone lives in a big house like her, so go to your local farmer's market. Well, any local farmer's market, I'm not saying we love a farmer's market, but produce tends to be a bit more expensive. And I live in the Cotswolds, so if I flog off to Dalesford, I need a mortgage to go into there to get any live produce, or other farmer's markets are available. But so anything that I'm seeing there just seems to me so out of kilter with modern life. Yes, we all work. You work. But you've just said, I have to get back, and you're probably thinking, I've got 50 jobs to do in a hurry, but you're doing them yourself. With this programme, she's got a production crew in abundance, chopping everything up so it's beautifully laid out.
Yeah, she's not
I know if I'm allowed into the kitchen, Mrs. Bell wants to boot me out as quickly
quite right. I have to. Now, here's the thing. when Nigella Lawson does hers, it's not in her, she films, it's not in her kitchen either. And she has, well, I don't know whether her friends or not her friends, I don't really care. It's telly. And she has people around and she's cooking and she says weird things like ice cubes made of leftover wine. I've never understood the concept of leftover wine, but apparently that is a thing for some people when they're cooking. However, we accept that there's a telly aspect to this, but the thing about this is it's supposed to be about her telling us about her personal life and this calling it With Love Meghan, about this wonderful insights. But there are no proper recipes, I understand. There's no sort of, it's not like a Jamie Oliver, right, this is what you do and then you baste it like this and then you do that. You don't actually learn anything. It's all really basic stuff. An awful lot of it, we understand, is copied from other lifestyle influencer. She says she's not an influencer, but this is basically, I mean, this is down to a pretty low level of trying to be a blogger and influencer, isn't it? I mean, she is no longer, you know, Duchess ruling the waves, is she?
Well, as she said to her friend, I'm not Meghan Markle, I'm Meghan Sussex. So she definitely needs to, she's living off her title. And there's no two ways about it. Look, I'm probably not the target market for the program.
No, probably not,
But I do like my cooking programs. I'm, you know, I love the hairy bikers. As I said, Keith Floyd, you know, there are lots of really good, you mentioned Jamie Oliver. Yes, but he does look as if he's cooking.
Yeah.
And he's actually, okay, sometimes he gets into a bit of hot water with, you know, he may be promoting something. But at the same time, he does look as if he knows what he's doing. And he just says, right, grabs this, grabs that, and sort of flings it all together, which is what most of us do. This is so staged managed that it doesn't feel genuine. And that's what's probably disappointing, is if you're going to do this programme, try and make it feel genuine.
Be a bit about you. But this is my thing is, I don't think she is a genuine person. I don't think there is. I think this is her. I think that she is just this fake. We don't see anything of the kids, do we? Or do we see, I mean, I think there's a fleeting glimpse of Harry at some point.
Well, it's Harry at the end. We see bits, we see lots of references to the children. Obviously, they're getting this beautifully laid out bowl of fruit on Saturday morning.
And life's more fun for them, obviously.
Life is, you know, and a bowl of yogurt with some fruit and honey thrown into it. You know, that is really new. But anyway, the point is they are there, and she says she's doing all these things for the children, and being a working mum, you know, I've got to be there for them. Well, that is, obviously, every working mum has the same thought. Every parent has the same thought. They need to be there for their children. There's nothing original in it. No. I've got 3 more episodes to go, Julia. And I will be reporting into Jeremy Carl later. I may be having to go for the biggest drink possible tonight to get me over this day. I will remember Pancake Day in 2025 for all the wrong reasons.
This is, can I just say,
talk.
What an absolute joy this interview has been, with Rupert Bell losing his mind over having to watch this. You say, Rupert, you're not the target market. I've got a working mum sitting with me, 3 young children, you know, not much different in age to Meghan and Harry's kids. Candace Holdsworth, are you intending to watch this from what you've seen of it? Does it appeal? Will you learn anything? And are you going to be a proper working mum and make breakfast more fun and do a rainbow platter of fruit in the morning?
Well, I've got 3 boys, so I'd present them with the rainbow platter and then it would probably somehow get overturned and the fruit would end up everywhere and it gets smashed on. And
be thrown at you.
There'd be no appreciation for how pretty it is at all.
It wouldn't work. Does this appeal? I mean, does it, again, this is all about her constantly trying to reinvent herself and become more relevant and things, you know, and their idea of going to America and making their fortunes and being these huge big figures, that's just, everything has gradually fallen by the wayside. Every contract they've had, he's had that massively successful book, the Oprah Winfrey interview, but it seems that everything is falling away from them. They're losing this, you know, all their, you know, their podcasts and all their contracts are just gradually fallen away.
It's sad. I think a lot of people are going to hate watch this, and I know that's cruel, but that's how it's going to be. And it doesn't sound like Meghan's really got the expertise in cooking or any sort of, you know, domestic work like Martha Stewart does, for instance.
You're just really saying, look at me and my fabulous life.
Yes, yes, and no one's going to be interested in that. People do actually like to learn things. You know, they want to know, how do I cook this? How do I make this? How do I arrange this? There's a huge market for that, but if you're not actually offering anything original...
Yeah, that's interesting. Rupert, coming back to you, unless you've already gone off to watch your 6th episode of this, she's also got a load of spin-off products supposed to be selling, but apparently she's had a few problems with copyright. What was the brand? But basically, it turns out as ever. Basically, it's a copyright name already.
Yeah, it was American Riviera Orchard. Got into legal copyright issues about that.
Did
has a
someone
panic
else want that
rebranding.
name?
Yep, and then has a panic
British
rebranding with-
Seaside allotment, as I called it.
Yeah, and as ever, but unfortunately she's run into one or two copyright issues there. But where I come from, if she's selling if she says I'm going to be selling jam, well, as I've said before, I've got a friend who sells sauces that you find in your supermarkets, right?
Yeah.
And I talked to him about the tomato crisis. And he said, well, I bought my tomatoes 4 years in advance to make sure that you can still have this man's particular sauces at your dinner table, because they as a company were planning ahead. Where's she getting all her strawberries from? Are they organic? Where's the people doing the hard yards to make this jam that's going to be distributed? That's the next stage, because there's no point having this launch, but if suddenly thousands of people want her famous raspberry jam, and do we know the provenance of it? That's the issue for her. Where are the people
also,
behind?
The recipe for raspberry jam, I think, was it Princess of Wales said she'd give hers away for free, didn't she? Rupert, genuinely, this has been one of the happiest interviews I've ever done, because your exasperation is an absolute joy. I think we should have live streamed you watching this. Gogglebox, eat your heart out.
The Duchess of Sussex's new show. We only put this story in for you, Robert, because I know how much you like talking about Meghan. Her new show has finally hit Netflix. It came in rather late. It was meant to be on 7 weeks ago, but I think the editors were busy sorting things out. With Love, Meghan, it's called, aims to share personal tips, tricks and advice on embracing playfulness over perfection. Let's take a little look and try not to cringe.
You see where our rainbow is coming together here? And you don't have to do a big platter of this. You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast, genuinely, and it makes the morning a lot more fun. But can I just show you if you just made one? Just a little morning plate. It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent. And it's a luxury sometimes, because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do, but when you can take a minute to just...
Saturday morning.
Yeah. Finding the fun in those moments makes for a really sweet start to the weekend.
Yeah. Anyone who's ever tried to get 2 kids ready for school, who reckons they could do that, knock one of those up for breakfast, Robert, is living in cloud cuckoo land. I mean, what she was chopping up there, I think at one point she whipped a kumquat out of the pot and started dicing it, along with blackberries and that other green thing, the name of which escapes me, strawberries, all in a nice smiley rainbow face. What better way to start the day for your kidlings?
Well, I have to say, she is a natural on TV, which isn't surprising given her history of celebrity. But that's what she is now. She's a celebrity rather than a royal.
Yeah.
She's boosted her celebrity status by being a royal in the UK. Okay, I know it was a horrible time for her, mental health problems and whatnot. But now she's back in America. She's boosted her celebrity. She's got primetime TV. You know what? I might even watch that. I think she's pretty good on the box.
You just want some Kiwi tips, don't you? I don't mean New Zealanders. I'm talking about the fruit.
Certainly do. Certainly do. I'll look at what she says.
It is the release by Netflix of With Love, Meghan Markle's new cooking and gardening series. It's a 8-part series, 40 minutes an episode. I suffered a couple of them myself this morning. Anyway, we thought we would hire our own guest TV critic. Who better than to take a look at this series and deliver his verdict than Meghan's brother, Thomas Markle Jr. I sat down with him earlier today, and this is his review. Welcome, Tom. Thank you for standing in to be our special critic for the day. Now, we've both watched, I might say endured, With Love, Meghan. It's finally hit Netflix today. I won't try and lead you down your avenue, but what are your first impressions? What did you think of the show?
Well, I think you hit it the nail on the head right off the bat by endured. But the opening scene, honestly, gosh, the opening scene with the bees. The first thing I thought was like, oh my God, Meghan's going to stick her face in a box of bees, and it's going to be called Botox with Meghan. I don't know.
That's the next series, Tom. That's the next series.
Yeah.
But my feeling about it was, and I just thought, I didn't expect it to be interesting. I don't think I'm the kind of target market, but I just found it absolutely stunningly boring. What about you?
Yeah, the first 5 minutes, it was just so bland and generic, and it looked like so much effort was made, like put into it to make it look bland. It was just so like blah, like there was nothing sparkling about it, nothing jumped out. It was just Meghan talking in that bland, generic voice about nothing.
Indeed. And now, you know, Meghan, when you were kids, when you were growing up together, did she make you all food all the time? She seems to portray herself as the kind of person who does that.
Yeah, I noticed when she said that, she grew up like watching cooking shows and grew up cooking all the time. And that wasn't the case. I mean, I do have to hand it to Doria. Doria is a great cook. I mean, by far a great cook. But Meghan, I don't think it, you know, the only thing that really made sense is when she started cooking bath salts there on the show and started talking about teabagging or something like that. I don't get it. She didn't cook anything for anybody ever growing up.
Yeah.
But when she started cooking bath salts on the show, then it all made sense.
I think perhaps it didn't. But I had this idea. What do you think about this, right? So that was the first episode. I've watched a couple of others as well. Later on in the series, I think it's episode 5, she kind of makes out that she was brought up in great poverty and never had a yard or a garden, as we call them in Britain. I'm not sure whether that's true or not. You can talk about that in a second. But here's what I thought. Instead of that really, really boring first episode about bees and about making pasta for her employee, the makeup man Daniel, how about she could have invited you, Samantha, and your dad round for lunch? Now, that would have got a massive audience, wouldn't it?
That would have been a showstopper right there. Although, you know, she probably would have turned us into wax dolls in the basement with all those candles and stuff. I don't know. It's just, but there was definitely better ways to go about that show. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of effort put into that, the making of that. And I feel sorry for all the employees who had to endure it, but it takes a lot, but it just didn't work out. Nothing about that episode at all during the entire thing made me want to do it, made me ever want to watch it again. It was that boring. I'm sorry it was, but that's
I couldn't agree with you more. I used to be a TV critic, and I've watched a lot of TV in my time, and I've watched a lot of very dull shows. I mean, that one took the biscuit. I mean, it really, or the cookie, I should say. That one really, really was tedious. Towards the end of the first episode, as she and her employee Daniel are sitting down to eat some yogurt or something, they look across this fantastic view, and Daniel said, "I feel like this is all fake."
I feel like this is all fake.
It is not a backdrop. This is not a green screen.
Did you feel like it was all fake as well?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. You know, I mean, I do a lot of things on social media. You know, I make a lot of jokes all the time. And, you know, actually, this is probably the first time I felt sorry and embarrassed for her, honestly. I mean, there should be like a disclaimer, you know, no cast or crew were hurt in the making of this series, you know? I don't know.
No cast or crew died of boredom during the making of this series. The audience, I'm not so sure. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it, Tom, that you felt she's so desperate. There's a desperation about her desire to be loved by everybody. Aren't I cutesy? Aren't I lovely? Look at the effort I make for all my friends. I put flowers in a pot. I love to prep the guest room and all that stuff. Desperate to be loved, and yet not quite cutting it, not quite making it. So in that respect, that's what makes you feel a little sympathy for her.
You know, to touch back on what you said a minute ago about she could have invited her father, first of all, me and Samantha, of course, and she could have turned that into something like the entire world was actually wanting to expect Meghan to do the right thing and pull her head out of her, you know what, and make amends. And at least with her father, you know, this would have been a great opportunity, a special guest on the season premiere, and she can sit there and make her dad one of those rainbow fruit hats or whatever the things. I mean, it looked like a clown's hat, but you know, Dad would have enjoyed that.
Exactly right. It would have been, as you say, a blockbuster. That would have been the way to start the series. But to go back to this sort of fakery line, I mean, the whole thing exudes a kind of fakery. And there she is, trying to pretend that she's this wonderful mum, this wonderful family woman who's so lovely to all of her friends. And in the backdrop, you especially know, but we all know, she's not very wonderful to her own family. She's not very wonderful to her father, to you, to her sister Samantha. And that's why she comes across like this massive, great fraud, like an actress delivering a part.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that one, definitely. Because the entire world knows how she treated her family, and especially how she treated her father, who gave her everything in life, which goes back to what you said earlier about growing up poor and underprivileged was the complete opposite. I mean, that's just another one of the malarkey stories she sold to the royal family for sympathy.
Even with me growing up, it was so much fast food. And yes, I get when you're on a budget, it's super affordable, but it costs you so much in the long run.
But when you have a garden, of course, having a garden is like printing your own money.
I love that.
And it never happened. You know, we weren't poor. She didn't have to rub those 2 nickels together at Sizzler Salad Bar. You know, there's Musso's and Frank's, Hamburger Hamlet, the Brown Derby, lots of restaurants in Hollywood. And it just goes up there for the poor me, 1 tier left I go victim card. And it's just complete opposite of how she comes across being this type of a person when in the background, the entire world knows who she is. And, you know, how she disrespected the Queen and treated members of the, royal family. And it's just like, it's so fake. That's why nobody's buying it. And that's why I don't think it's going to do very well at all, allegedly, in my opinion.
Well, I think your opinion is quite good, to say the least. I mean, as I say, I know something about the dynamics of what makes a TV show work. I used to have to watch about 35 hours of TV every single week for my previous job. And as I say, I've seen some boring programs, but I'm not kidding you, Tom. I was actually shocked by how dull this was. I thought they could have made some effort. Get her out of the kitchen a bit more. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, even as an amateur cook, she's not particularly good. I just find it strange. I mean, I'll watch an expert chef, Michelin star chef, say, here's how I make a salad, or here's how I cut up some vegetables. But why do I have to watch Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, do this, who clearly doesn't really know what she's doing? She's just another amateur cook in the kitchen. What's the draw? Why am I supposed to care how she cuts up vegetables?
And exactly, Kevin. I mean, you brought up another really good point there. Here's this person who said that she grew up watching cooking shows. I mean, that sounds a little, plagiaristic at this point, if you want to just say that. But yeah. I was under the impression that all those recipes that she was whipping up in the kitchen came from the chef in Chicago that she was dating before Harry.
I bet they did. She saved them up. But as I say, she doesn't come across as an expert. I mean, in episode 1, that cake, the honey layer cake or the honey lemon cake, I mean, that was a disaster, a real mess. But she said she called it the beautiful inside cake. Oh, yeah, great. What do you make, if I can ask you this, Thomas Markle, what did you make of her saying, I'm not called Markle anymore, I'm called Sussex?
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids, and you go, no, I share my name with my children.
Yes.
And that feels so, I didn't know how meaningful it would be to me, but it just means so much to go, this is our family name, our little family name.
Well, now I know, and I love it.
Well, see, that's weird because I think she got that, I mean, I think me and Samantha are actually just a tribute to Meghan and her new show, because she's going to do that. Samantha and I are both going to change our last names to Sussex legally. Okay, just you know, we have to jump on the bandwagon and support Meghan. So being that I'm technically the Duke-in-law of Sussex, and Samantha's the Duchess-in-law of Sussex, hey, hi Meghan.
Yeah. Did you notice that bit though? So one of her friends says, "Oh, so I can't believe I'm watching Meghan Markle make this," and then she goes, "It's so funny you say that, because I'm not Meghan Markle anymore. I'm Meghan Sussex. Sussex is my name." And then she got a load of old waffle about how that's how the family identify themselves. But she's abandoning your name there, Tom. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's actually probably going to do us a favor, because she's drug it through the mud so deep these days that it's just, you know, we can at least redeem ourselves and our dignity now if she does that. But it's always going to leave a stain tarnished, you know, on the name itself. But, you know, it's just like, look it up in Wikipedia, what not to do in life. Get markled. You know, it's horrible.
Yeah. And you guys have been markled. Have you spoken to your dad lately? How's he doing?
Dad's doing great. We're actually still vacationing right now, and having a great time and seeing a lot and making a lot of videos. And he's actually the happiest he's been in a long time, which is good.
I'm glad to hear that. Has he seen With Love, Meghan yet?
No, I didn't have enough heart medication for him to watch it, so I wanted to make sure I didn't want him to kick the bucket, so I have to go refill the prescription before I let him watch it.
Well, yeah, be careful, be careful. I mean, it was enough of a shock for you and I, so let's be careful with your dad. But what does he make of all of this generally, Tom? You know, this new series, the continued fakery that we've talked about. You know, I'm the most brilliant family woman, not to her own family, she's not. What does Thomas Markle Sr. make of this?
Well, he hasn't said much about it. Dad is pretty firm on the fact that he stands. He always leaves the door open for forgiveness, right? He loves all of his children no matter what. You know, you have some that get it and you have some that don't, but you know, he still loves them all the same. So you know, deep down inside, he still cares about Meghan, of course. Of course he's hurt, and that took a hell of a long time for him to get over, but I'm sure he wishes her luck. You know, I mean, it's just, that's what a father does. He's always left that door open for her, and she's always just slammed it in his face repeatedly. So
absolutely. And I've always said that I think that her motivation for what she's done to you, Samantha, and your dad is a kind of snobbery. You know, she wants to be seen as someone who hangs out with royalty and the Hollywood A-list, and you guys are down-to-earth people. And she's ruthlessly cut you out of her life on the altar of that. How does that make you feel?
It just, you know, I'm so used to reading, you know, 50 articles that are paid for. I mean, all her little paid PR puff pieces. I mean, God knows how much charity money goes into that, spending money on all those stories that she puts out. But yeah, it's just, I'm so used to it. It doesn't bother me anymore because, you know, I'm always going to be known, like, to the entire world, as she claims, the estranged brother, the estranged sister, the estranged father. In all actuality, she's estranged from our family. That's really what it is.
Well, she's divorced you, hasn't she? Not the other way around. Did you? I want to get to a few specific moments in the show in just a second. But when you were kids, when you were growing up, did you notice that she had this ruthless side to her character?
I figured it out one day when I caught her crawling on the ceiling. Then I knew something was wrong. There was always, see, I have so many videos that I've acquired, so many videos that I'm just putting together some really nice pieces. But you can see in a lot of these videos, there was always that little look, which she seems to keep getting caught on camera when she thinks the cameras aren't looking. It's that look, the Meghan Markle death stare, like, you know, where her viper jaw clenches up and she's about to strike. It's just, it's crazy. And you notice that in all these videos of her growing up, there's still that little piece there. I mean, I didn't really notice it that much because I was always working and doing my own things and hanging out with my friends. But in those videos, it's pretty shocking, actually.
Yeah, there was a moment when she was in Canada recently where she didn't realise she was being filmed. There was a real death stare moment then. Then she realised she was on camera, and all of a sudden it's like that, you know. Listen, Thomas, you were kind enough to watch this for us and be our critic for the day, our guest critic. Any particular moments that stood out for you that you'd like us to play or anything?
I don't know, about halfway through it, I realized, is there something better I could be doing better right now with my time? And I figured dropping bricks on my pinky toes would probably be better. But it didn't take long to realize that it could easily be adapted into like The Conjuring 3 or Psycho 4 or something like that easily, because it was just that bizarre. It was so straight, bizarre, bland, all the way across, all the way through. And I go, when is this going to change? Is this it? Is this seriously it? I mean, I was dumbfounded. I mean, and then with the wax candles, I mean, what is that? The first thing I thought of was like, is she making like wax dolls, like the Hollywood Wax Museum in the basement? Yeah. What is this? And then the dolls, I'd go, oh God, don't go there.
Yeah.
But
yeah. She lives in a different on a different planet now, because at one point she said, that Daniel guy goes, I can't believe we're making so many candles. Great. And then Meghan says, you can get wax from your local beekeeper. Not around where I live, you can't.
Yeah. If not, I've got 20 tons in the cellar. I could give you some.
Yeah, exactly. Who has a local beekeeper?
Touched beeswax like this before.
If we just pour it in?
Yeah, let's pour it.
You can get wax from your local beekeeper.
Not that many people around where I live, I don't think.
Oh, a second. The local produce stand where the jam comes from. That's where the beekeepers come from.
Yeah, exactly right. But you agree with me. I mean, I hope the series works, I suppose, but I don't think it will. I just think it's too boring. Television programmes have to be interesting. If they're boring, they tend to fail. So I think you and I both agree this series has got its work cut out, right?
Yeah, here's what's going to happen with everybody. Everybody's going to watch the first one, and it's going to be the worst critically acclaimed episode known to me. And it's
so
probably not. It's not going to make it through there. Then what's going to happen is everybody who watched the first one is going to watch 5 or 6 minutes of the second one, and probably go commit themselves to a psychiatric funny farm. Something like that.
We had to get together today to digest what we just witnessed, Kevin. From hawking the balloon, like the balloon inflator, to starting, like, you start off by making bath salts. Where do we begin with what just happened? I mean, what just happened?
Yeah,
It's a Kevin line.
Exactly. I mean, my initial response to this is I'm genuinely stunned by how boring it is. I mean, it breaks new ground in tedium. I mean, I'm not particularly ever going to be the kind of target market for this sort of show, but you know, I can appreciate a decent cooking, gardening type show if it's presented by experts, if it's edited and directed by people who know how to make television programs. I don't know what's going on with this, but that was shockingly dull. I mean, after about 8 minutes, 9 minutes, I'm thinking, is she going to get out of the kitchen? Are we going to see anything else? I mean, we saw a few bees at the outset, but apart from that, the whole thing was in the kitchen of the first episode. She's making food for one of her employees, you know, a member of staff. How special is that? Poor old Daniel had to make sort of candles and things like that. But you know, I've said this to you before, Kinsey. Somewhere down the line, Meghan took a bucket full of boring pills. And she doesn't seem to be able to do anything that isn't just strikingly dreary. And that's exactly what this series is.
I guess that's exactly the kind of lifestyle, though, I would expect for an unemployed princess. I mean, to just be able to sit around and do all that. Like, who has time to do half of that?
Yeah, well,
I don't.
Well, that's the other ludicrous element of it. That Netflix put this forward saying, oh, people are going to watch this and they're going to want to make the recipes and the candles and all of that. No, they're not. No, they're not, because we've all got a thing called a life. We haven't got time to do all of this nonsense. And the other element of it was that really struck me as well. I don't know what you thought, Kinsey, but she came across as someone who's not actually very good at all of this stuff. She's okay. You know, the cake was average. I think I could have done a better job of the cake. It was a real mess. You know, kids say it's the beautiful inside cake. Yeah, but it's the ugly outside cake. And, you know, who the hell has got time to melt beeswax and turn it into candles? And by the way, in case you haven't got your own beehives, did you notice her turning around and saying, you can get beeswax from your local beekeeper? Well, do you know where I live?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have
like,
beekeepers where I live.
Kevin,
we have gangs. We have gangs and criminals.
Exactly. During that scene, doesn't she say, we've been doing this for a year now? And then she turns around and asks him what their lifespan is. And he's like, a couple days or whatever. I don't remember what he said. But she's like, 4 weeks. And she's like, if you've been doing this for a year, aren't you noticing that, like, some of these guys are kicking the bucket? Like, I don't understand.
And let me ask you.
There's nothing authentic about this.
I know, exactly. And I love the line, Daniel, at the end when they sit down. This is at the end of the first episode. And I've watched a bit of a few of the others, but I couldn't bear with it for too long. It was just too much. But they sat down at the end with their tea that she's made, which looked disgusting, and that ugly cake. And he goes, the view. Oh, look at that view. And I'm thinking, well, that's not the view from Meghan's house, because that's not her house. And then he said, I mean, you'd have thought the editors might have cut this out. He goes, I feel like this is all so fake. And it's like, yeah, Daniel, you're not the only one.
You're observant.
I mean, seriously, yeah, you got that right, Daniel. The whole thing stank of fakery. But you'd think that she might be better at all this stuff. What is the point of telling us how to put a piece of pasta, a load of pasta, or pasta, as they say in the States, into a pot, and a load of vegetables, a bit of cheese, and then boiling it up, and then serving it? What's the point of telling us that? I mean, it's like student cooking, one pot cooking.
Exactly, or like the fact that she invented putting frosting in a plastic bag and instead of buying
this is my
like
hack.
A sandwich bag.
This is my hack.
Yeah, like
that's not a hack.
No. So I think, tell me if you felt this way too while you were watching it. I felt like one of the themes is Meghan has thought of everything. Meghan has thought of everything. Like when they're sitting in the they're sitting in the tea venue that they've set up for the tea party with Mindy Kaling. And Meghan's like, do you see the way that I stemmed the balloon garden around the door or something like that? And Mindy Kaling is like, yeah, like what I got from that is Meghan thought of it. Meghan's thought of everything. Yeah. But we know
and just in case you didn't notice, she's going to point it out. Just in case you didn't notice.
Exactly. But we know factually that that's not true. And one giant example of that is American Riviera Orchard, which clearly they intended to subtly push because there are a lot of preserves. She talks about jam. What's the difference between jam and preserves? She talks about the process of making it. Like, that was one thing that I did feel was a theme throughout, probably with the intention of selling American Riviera Orchard jam or whatever, inevitably. Now it has to be as ever. But did you get that sense too? Like Meghan, not Meghan the know-it-all, because that would be rude. It was more like Meghan is just Meghan the clever girl.
Yeah, she's trying to give the impression that she does all this stuff off the hoof very lightly. Oh, someone's coming over. I've made a frittata. Oh, I've done this. You know,
bath salts.
Yeah. What was that about, by the way? What she said, I'm never modest. I'm not known for being modest with the bath salts. What?
Yeah,
What
could
are
you not imagine me
talking about?
naked in your bathroom? Yeah.
I mean, and seriously, Kinsey, to go back to your other point, who the hell does that? Oh, going to fill this entire container. I mean, old Daniel is going to like drown in salt, isn't it? And and then that massive, great sort of container she made of flowers and God knows what, that I love to prep the guest room. And then she makes the mistake of saying, I'm going to take this home now. Because actually, Daniel isn't staying there. That's the studio. That's the house she's rented. Then they're going to go back and he's going to stay at their place in Montecito. So there's that fake line underlying the whole program. And she keeps saying, at one point she actually says, this is not my real home. Well, you should keep that to yourself, Meghan, because...
I heard that twice, I think.
Yeah, it kind of undermines the program, doesn't it?
It does. Have you ever seen somebody eat so many damn fake or so many damn fake or edible? They're not fake. They're just edible flowers. I don't find it necessary to put as many petals or whatever as that woman put on absolutely every single thing.
Yeah. And then she called it art. The art. It's art. Like saying to Daniel, when you do your art, this is like my art. And she finishes by putting a couple of, as you say, edible flowers on top of the vegetables that she's just sliced up very, very badly. Did you notice, by the way, you know, I mean, I'm not expecting her to be a sort of professional standard chef, but maybe a little bit better than she is. So, you know, when TV chefs are chopping, you know, they do that, always very impressive. Now, I'm not expecting her to do that, but she's like this. I mean, she's really, really bad at chopping. Frankly, she doesn't look to me like she's a particularly good chef, a particularly good cook, which again is strange considering the nature of this show. Now, I couldn't let today pass. Although we've already spoken about this show earlier with Thomas Markle Jr., but I need to get the verdict of the world's greatest royal correspondent, royal guru, and she is, of course, Kinsey Schofield over there on the West Coast. Welcome, Kinsey.
I was just browsing asever.com for all of the products that are still not available. I mean, I applaud her for throwing a picture of them up on the website, but they're still not available to buy. Available spring 2025, it says.
Unbelievable. So this is her website, now called As Ever, formerly known as American Riviera Orchard, which has been going since March last year. So it's been going now officially a year. Still can't buy anything. She's just changed the name. Still can't buy anything. And yet she's putting up price lists, I do believe. But look, we've now watched... With Love, Meghan, the new Netflix cooking and gardening show. Starts with a lot of beekeeping. There's some candle making. There's some
not the only bee it starts with.
There's some cake baking, and so cake baking. There's some frittata making. I love the way she gets a pot of yogurt, as you say in America, puts a few raspberries on the top of it, and then says, "There, yogurt parfait." No, it's not.
Chef's kiss.
It's
chef's kiss.
It's not chef's kiss. That's a pot of yogurt with some raspberries on it. She rather grandiosely exaggerates the wonderfulness of her dishes. But anyway, your overview, you've presumably, knowing you've watched the whole series now. Your overview, what do you make of it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to clarify that when I made a bee joke, I meant BS. And after I had a second to process it, I realized it could be interpreted multiple ways.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which bit I was laughing at, but anyway.
Oh, so I guess that would be a great way to start. The show is just full of it. Who in their right mind has the time to orchestrate all of these things? And if they were really unique details, Kev, I'd be all about it. But taking a plastic sandwich bag and filling it full of frosting and cutting off the tip to ice your cake.
And calling it a hack? It's my hack. Yeah, well,
exactly.
Wow, no one ever thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's not original content. And I'm going to argue this until the day I die, even though some woman could, like, laughed at me about it on Good Morning Britain this morning. We are in a different world. Content has evolved. Content has changed. You can watch all of those hacks that Meghan Markle did for 15 to 60 seconds on TikTok today. TikTok, who has the demographic that Netflix is desperately chasing after them. Why stretch out that content to be 45 minutes long when if I really wanted some of these tips and tricks that she calls them, I could just scroll through a hashtag on TikTok at 3 a.m. and get 90 of them versus one in a 40-minute episode. It's backwards. She's not evolving. She is stuck in the ways of her TIG days. And then I also had someone else point this out to me and tell me if you agree. But she said, isn't it a little bizarre that this entire show is a love language to her life before Harry almost? You know, talking in the kitchen with, sitting there having a great time in the kitchen with somebody just talking. Well, it reminds you of her ex-boyfriend who she was with right before Prince Harry, the professional chef. How many times did they play out those scenes? And did she manifest something similar when she was with her chef boyfriend? It's just, it's not looking forward. There's nothing innovative about it. And that's what bothers me. You said you left the royal family because they were holding you back. From what? Yeah. You just made a show that they would have made in 2012.
So they were holding Meghan back from making ladybird-shaped canapes. Now she can spread her wings and let her talent flourish. Now, my verdict on it, you and I spoke off air earlier, and I said it to Thomas Markle Jr. and he agreed with me. My verdict on the series, I've got some experience of watching television, as you know, former TV critic, used to watch 35 hours a week. I know a little bit about what makes a TV show tick. This show, I was shocked, stunned at how sensationally boring it is. It is so boring. They barely bother to get out of the kitchen. And the entire first, and by the way, of course, not her kitchen, of course. The entire first episode appears to me to revolve around her making food for one of her employees, her makeup man, Daniel. What's that about?
Kevin, she barely leaves the kitchen in episode 1. After 5 years of shoving down our throats, the Procter & Gamble, when I was 11 years old, I wrote Procter & Gamble about a soap commercial and told them that it was sexist that they said women all over the world were in the kitchen because women don't belong in the kitchen. Women don't just belong in the kitchen. Meghan has told that story relentlessly for at least a decade, but for the last 5 years since she's actually had this freedom, we've heard it a lot more. Like when she was accepting her Gracie Award, like it never fails. She tells the soap story. And she creates a reality show where she spends almost the entire time in a kitchen. Procter & Gamble is somewhere going, you've been ripping us a new one forever.
Well, while we're on the subject of Procter & Gamble, they were asked about this famous letter that she wrote when she was 11 years old. They've got no record of it. So the jury's out on whether or not it actually happened. But there she is now, as you quite rightly say, the opponent of women working in the kitchen, now working in the kitchen. And some of the recipes, I mean, what are they, sort of 8-10 minutes pouring candles made out of beeswax? So Daniel goes, I never touched so much beeswax in my life. And I said to myself, well, I can beat you there, Daniel. I've never touched any beeswax in my life. She said, to the audience, she goes, you can get wax from your local beekeeper. Where I live, we don't have local beekeepers. We have gang leaders and people with guns and people with knives. We don't have many beekeepers where I live, and a lot of people who dwell in cities will feel the same. So it was very otherworldly, very stuck in a kind of cosseted, privileged world that I don't think many people will relate to at all.
High maintenance, over the top, unnecessary. And this is the same woman that told us that William, the Prince of Wales, and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, were turned off by her because she just opened the door for them in her blue jeans and her with holes in them in her t-shirt, and she was barefoot, and she wasn't prim and proper enough for them, and she wasn't she wasn't how did she phrase it? She just was like cool California, cool, low maintenance, and they were the stuffy ones. And this is a woman that's giving sunflower seeds in her kids to go, like her kids' goodie bags. Like, no, I'm sorry, but she always tries to tell us one thing, but her actions say otherwise. That is one rare consistency because there are few consistencies with Meghan Markle. She's a very inconsistent person, but that's one of the rare ones, that she's always trying to tell us she's something else while presenting something totally different. Actions speak louder than words.
So I had this idea. I said it to Thomas Markle Jr. You know, if she wanted to have a blockbuster show to launch this series, it's pretty damn simple. She invites her dad, Thomas Markle Sr. She invites her brother, Thomas Markle Jr., and her sister, Samantha Markle. She invites them for a rapprochement lunch. She makes the food. There you go, Meghan. That's how you get an audience. Instead, she's making food for her employees.
She's making food for Mindy Kaling, who doesn't even know her last name.
Yeah, but let's talk about that. I mean, you know, Mindy Kaling, you know, quite a amusing presence. You know, she sort of says, I can't believe Meghan Markle's doing the dishes or something like that. And then Meghan goes, it's so funny you should say Meghan Markle. You know, that's not my name, it's Sussex. You know, so what she did in this series, in this show that we've just watched, endured, you might say, she divorced her past. She divorced her name. She effectively said, I don't want to be called Meghan Markle anymore. I want to be called Meghan Sussex. This is the name by which my family identify ourselves. And then she sort of slaps Mindy down, as if Mindy's dropped some sort of appalling howler by using her correct name. It's so funny you should say that, but it's actually Sussex now. A really strange moment. And as the Sun newspaper here in Britain revealed today, well, she loves her Sussex name. In her life, she spent 6 hours, a total of 6 hours in the county of Sussex.
Another great example of the hypocrisy. But, I mean, to your point about inviting Thomas Jr., Sr. and Samantha anywhere near Meghan, the everyone's invited tagline of her show and the Little Miss, I'm so sweet, I get along with everyone, I'm the kindest person on the planet. I'm sorry, but if that was true, you'd have some empathy and compassion for your family, who have clearly not only hurt, and their hearts have hurt, but also those are my dogs saying hi. Their hearts have, but also, you know, her father has been physically very ill over the last few years. And if you really were this soft-hearted person that you're trying to portray on TV, surely to God, you're going to check in with the man that not only gave you life, but gave you the education he gave you and the opportunities he gave you. Because if it weren't for Thomas Markle Sr., Meghan Markle would not have landed Prince Harry.
I said to Thomas Markle Jr. earlier when he reviewed the programme, I said, did when she was a kid, did you notice in Meghan this ruthless streak, the way she's ruthlessly cut you out of her life, won't see her poor old dad, even though he's, let's face it, you know, on his last legs. I mean, it seems to be all right now, but he's not well, is he? I mean, he's 80 years old, and we wish him well, but, you know, to cut your dad off when he's that kind of ill is a kind of odd. So I said to Thomas Markle Jr., I said, did you notice? He said, oh, yeah, we knew about Meghan's death stare. that usually before some big old grin, you'd get the death stare. And she's got this horrible look where if she doesn't like something, it's quite frightening. But let's talk about the banality of some of these dishes that she made. I mean, what is the point of a program where, you know, she throws a bit of pasta into a single bowl, chucks some tomatoes in, a few chopped vegetables and some salt, bit of cheese, boils it up and goes, there you go, pasta.
It's like she's celebrating the fact that America doesn't have home ec classes anymore. Yeah. And she's like, surely nobody's going to know that this is like a page 1 of any sort of basic cooking book or basic how to be a grown-up book. Cook your own pasta. Yeah. I mean, it was one step above ramen, let's be honest. Yeah. And ramen is delicious.
Mm. Well, yeah, and you know, as I say, then taking a bit of pot of yogurt, and then putting some raspberries on it and calling it yogurt parfait. All of the dishes. And by the way, the cake, the 3-layer honey cake, which she skillfully christened, she named it the beautiful inside cake. She called it that because it was very ugly outside. I mean, that was amateur hour, that cake. So what I'm getting at here, Kinsey, is I can't quite get my head round the concept of a program hosted by this person who's not a particularly good cook, telling us how to cook.
Host. Not a particularly good cook or host, because again, you and I have had this conversation for years now. Archetypes was all about Meghan Markle. Even though she told you, I have Mariah Carey here with me, I have Paris Hilton with me, I have Serena Williams here with me, Meghan would use their stories to make it all about her. Oh, funny you should say that. For the next 30 minutes, I'm going to talk about myself. That's exactly what this was. You have one of the funniest women in the world, Mindy Kaling, in your kitchen. By the way, I don't know if you've seen her new Netflix series about basketball, but with Kate Hudson.
Yeah. I don't know much about Mindy, but
it's amazing. It is so good, and to me, there's no way that these two are friends in real life. Or Meghan would have had a cameo. Meghan would have had a cameo in this show. It's all about LA. It's all about pop culture. A Kardashian is randomly sitting at a bar, and there's like a quick reference. That could have been Meghan's, cameo in a heartbeat. Yeah. So I really don't think that these two are very close. But you've got one of the funniest women in the world. Why aren't you asking Mindy Kaling questions about herself? Instead, we've got Mindy Kaling going, tell me about fashion. Thought I'd see Meghan Markle, but Meghan Markle. Like, honestly, you have really talented people around you. Make it about them. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Zig Ziglar. Pick it up, Meghan Markle. It'll take you 30 minutes to read. You want to make the people around you feel good about themselves and shine. And inevitably, people see that, and it shines on you. The fact that we continuously make it about her. Somehow we end up talking about Prince Harry and salt. And Mindy Kaling's like, I love that I know Prince Harry put salt on everything. That's not good TV. I'm sorry.
It isn't good TV, but nor is it good TV to learn that both, she says, my husband and my son love fried eggs. Great. But she puts soda water or something into fried eggs. I mean, I don't really care.
They're fluffier.
Does that make them fluffier, does it? Okay. But these recipes are so banal, so uninteresting. So I don't get the idea of someone not a particularly good cook saying, this is how you make one-pot pasta. What did she call it? Single skillet pasta or something. I don't get the idea. What's the point of a not very good cook showing us how to make fairly boring dishes? I mean, what's the point?
The point is fulfilling a contractual obligation to Netflix. The point is fulfilling a contractual obligation to Netflix, but like in saying that, we're laughing. But the reality is, like, you just mentioned this very unnecessary and boring pasta dish. Kevin, it took her 5 years to execute this. Mm-hmm. They were talking to Netflix as they were walking. It's been 5 years since Megxit. And Netflix was one of the first people that they talked to. We've been talking about over the last few weeks. They were stuck in their homes in the middle of the plague too, to sit and strategize and to create and to manifest and to come up with some brilliant ideas about how to reintroduce themselves to the world and how to present themselves to the world. And we get a woman talking about cute sandwich shapes for tea parties. Like, you know, this is a woman that wanted us to think she was going to run for president one day, by the way.
Yeah, and by the way, she's never modest when it comes to the use of salts. She makes big Epsom salt to big jar for Daniel.
So weird.
And all is it. And then that constant, talking about the fakery here, you know, the constant, this isn't my house. This isn't my house. She kept saying it. And now we're going to go home and put this in Daniel's bedroom. So you're constantly reminded she's not actually in her home. And I love the scene at the end of the first episode where they sat down and there was a hell of a view there, fantastic view there in Santa Barbara. And Daniel goes, "Oh, what is this view?" And then he said, she said, this all feels so fake. And it's like, yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, Daniel, it really, really does. You think they might have had the wherewithal to cut that phrase out. But, you know, in terms of, let's finish on the practicalities of this. This series was supposed to coincide with, formerly American Riviera Orchard, but now as ever, opening for business. You can buy this pasta. This is how, this Epsom salts or whatever the hell it is. You can buy it on my website. Oh no, you can't. Nothing is ready, right?
No, nothing's ready. She was clever enough to add images. So again, building more of a hype than we ever had for American Riviera Orchard, which sat stagnant as an email collection landing page. But it says that you have to join her mailing list, another mailing list, and she will email you in spring of 2025 when these products are ready. And there will be people that buy them. Kevin, she does have fans. Yeah. I know, because they harass
I know
me.
Both of them, actually.
Yeah. But so she will sell things, and there's a potential, I might have said this to you before, but I think that there's a potential that she could, you know, maybe rank on one of the lists, like in the same way that she, for 1 week or less, ranked above Joe Rogan on Spotify, but a year later, she didn't have that job anymore. And I think that says a lot.
And on the back of this show, if this is the springboard for her business, then I think she's in trouble. I cannot believe for a second that Netflix executives looked at this and said, this has got global hit written all over it. They would have watched it with the same reaction to us. The only reaction you can have, you know, the best you can say is, well, this is all right. But mainly, I think most people would go, this is really dreary. It's really dull.
It's so vanilla. It is so boring. She she goes out of her way to not do anything controversial. But she also makes you cringe in the sense that she tries to be quirky by making little sounds and little jokes and little puns. It's what the problem is you're not saying authenticity. No. She talked in that cut interview about the Bachelor producer in her head. That person still lives there rent-free.
And last question, you know the beekeeper at the beginning, did he ever get a name check?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is, just the beekeeper, and as Alex Phillips said to me, he looks just like John Lennon.
Could it be?
Yeah, it could. Wow, you see, now that could be good for ratings.
Tupac's her gardener. Elvis cleans her cars. God knows what's going on in Montecito. She sure is secretive. Okay, so the countdown is on to Meghan Markle's new Netflix program, With Love, Meghan. And we know the countdown is on because she's posting pictures of her children, who she typically hides from the world to promote said Netflix show, which is, it gives some of us the ick, but here we are. Netflix posted a new video at the end of last week, over 127,000 views, 1,731 likes on the video, 15,417 dislikes on the video so far, over 10,000 comments, I should say. Now, this is a little preview of the show that's coming up. It says Chef Roy Choi bonds with Meghan over cooking, music, and growing up in Los Angeles while teaching her a foolproof way to cook with spicy Korean flavors and a sneak peek from With Love Meghan. With Love Meghan premieres March 4th. This inspiring series, produced by Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, reimagines the genre of lifestyle programming. Reimagines my you-know-what. If it were reimagined anything, it wouldn't be accused of copying Pamela looks banging in a red bathing suit Anderson, okay? Blending practical how-tos. I would not ask this woman for advice on anything, like how to tie my shoe. I wouldn't ask her advice. I do the opposite of anything this woman told me to do. How to marry a prince? Maybe, but I'd try to pick one that had, some form of a brain. And candid conversations with friends, new and old, paid to be there. Meghan shares personal tips and tricks. Oh, did ChatGPT write this? Embracing playfulness over perfection. Oh my gosh. It's just so annoying. It makes my skin crawl. All of it. Stop trying to pretend something you are so not. She and her guests roll up their sleeves in the kitchen, the garden, and beyond, and invite you to do the same unless your last name is Markle, or if you in any way, shape, or form share any sort of DNA with this woman, then you are not invited. Nope, not you. I saw you on my 23andMe chart. You're out. Okay, so the comments, as you can imagine, have not disappointed. Let's see. The top one says, just here to crack up at the comments and high-waisted beige. This kills me because Netflix is the culprit when it comes to this, or the origin of the beige. The only reason we care about what color Meghan Markle is wearing, because this woman had the audacity to go on Netflix in front of millions of people and claim that the British royal family did not allow her to wear color. Cue the editor putting pictures of Meghan in green, pictures of Meghan in red, pictures of Meghan in red/purple. She had the audacity to claim that the British royal family did not allow her to wear color while she was a working member of the royal family, that she had to sit it out so that they could wear beautiful colors. And before she was a member of the royal family, she was rarely in brights or, anything with like that popped. She's always been like a white, a black, okay, deal or no deal red. I give you that. But she's always been like in white, black, cream, or beige. Like that's just, but it's to the extreme today. And we only notice it because she claimed on Netflix that this family had so much control of her with the passport locked in the safe. Meanwhile, she's on a private jet for her baby shower, that she couldn't wear color. And today, all she does is wear beige, cream, white, and black. Yet again, it's like, you're out of the tower, lady. You've escaped for 5 years. You've been able to wear the colors of the rainbow. Lucky charms, get to it. But alas, high-waisted beige. We expect nothing less than the high-waisted beige. So thank you for that comment. Over 5,000 people have liked it. Oh my goodness. Then Dino Bucket 123 says, the fact that some of the comments have more likes than the actual sneak peek is comedy gold. Although I really wish you would have spelled peek right, because that's one of my pet peeves. So to his point, like that comment from RHR Jen has over 5,200 likes. This video has less than 2,000 likes. Athena says, I believe the editors actually despise her. And this is the wonderful result. Thank you for renewing my belief in Meghan's absolute awfulness of character once again in every aspect, and for leaving the comments open for our viewing pleasure. Nobody needs to hate watch this, says Words Bloom. All the YouTubers will be watching it and reviewing it for us frame by frame. No need to give Netflix and Meghan the ratings. Now, this commenter is actually quoting the show. I have to click read more so I see the whole clip. She says, Roy Choi, you and I are so similar. Meghan, nope. Nope, nuh-uh, I'm a princess. You just the hired hand. No way in my world are we remotely alike. Laugh face emoji. I love how she shoots herself in the foot every single time with her body language. So that was just an interpretation of Meghan's body language when he says, you and I are so similar. But actually, I bet you she loved that line, because what she's doing, this is all just a PR exercise, similar to the Alec Baldwin and Hilaria Baldwin show, which I actually think they kind of nail. I'd give it a 75 out of 100 because I understand what Alec Baldwin and Hilaria are trying to do. It's too difficult to execute with the manslaughter storyline. But I mean, it was an impossible task to begin with, but they do a pretty good job of making Hilaria and Alec tolerable. I really couldn't stand these two people until I watched the first episode of their reality show. Alec Baldwin and Hilaria talking about, I believe, their 7-year-old son and how beautiful he is and how sweet he is, describing all their children. They love their family. They love each other. While Alec and Hilaria are, entitled, and Alec does not express enough empathy for the death of Helena Hutchins. I can see that they love each other. I can see that they love their family. I can see they have good children, sweet children that love them. And I don't dislike them as much as I did before. I think he's got anger issues. He's always going to have anger issues. He having those anger issues and it being out there the way it is, people do, they pursue him in a way that I think is kind of unfair sometimes. I can't believe I'm taking up for this man. But I understood what they were doing with their reality show. I understand it's just a giant PR exercise, and I feel like it was a masterclass compared to what I see with Meghan Markle. Meghan really could sit back and take notes from Hilaria and Alec Baldwin's show on TLC. The Baldwins, no, it's not. It's the worst thing they probably could do. It's the lowest of the low. This is a movie star or a former movie star, Alec Baldwin, but they are winning people over with it because people will hate watch or people will watch out of boredom, and it will change people's minds and hearts about them. Meghan's show, I don't think is as accessible, and I also don't think it's as interesting because it's not authentic. It's Meghan putting herself in these positions, not like the Baldwins going absolutely insane because they're about to go on vacation. So they're trying to get cats in crates and pulling each other's hair out. Like, that is unique television. Meghan making a tostada or whatever isn't. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like, gosh, how did I go on this tangent? Who even knows? But I think that if this is just a PR exercise for Meghan, then I don't think it's going to be a positive. I don't think there's going to be a positive reaction there. It is just, and I do believe it's just a PR. She wants us to like her. She wants to change public perception about her because people dislike her. Analytically, statistically, survey says she is a disliked individual. More people dislike her than like her, not only in the UK, but in the United States. And she's trying to change public opinion. And when it comes to this comment about the body language, and he says, you and I are so similar, I think she loves that. There's a reason why that clip was released. She is trying to say, look, I'm just like you. You and I are, you should like me because I like the same music you like. I like to do the same things you do. I like to garden too. I love being in the kitchen. That's all this is. It's just a PR exercise where she's trying to say, you like to garden? Well, here are some of my tips for gardening so you and I can garden like each other so we can garden together. That's all this is. But I would stress that I felt like Alec Baldwin's show was much more interesting and they were much more skilled. Like, I know I said, when I talk about Helena Hutchins, it's not right. The percentage of grieving Helena versus the percentage of wacky family time, it's off. It's 100% off. But what I will say is it moved me when Hilaria talked about the death of Helena and a little boy losing his mom, and that death will always be with their family, that is something that they're always going to hold on to. I didn't take it in a selfish way, like we're so burdened by this. I felt like she was saying, that's something we're not going to ever forget. We're going to honor her. But you might have interpreted it differently, and that's okay if you did, because that's what this is all about. We're all allowed to have an opinion, okay? All right, so Royally Us says the comment section is open. Fun times. Dave Torek said there is 5 times more negative comments and 7 times dislikes than there are likes. There's your market research, Netflix. That is over 1,000 upvotes. She drilled into our heads that when she was a kid, she fought to prove that a woman's place is not in the kitchen. Yet, look at what she's doing now. Cry emoji, I can't. That's one of my favorite points that's made throughout the promotion for this. You know, women all over the world, pots and pans. Hillary Clinton so moved by young Meghan's letter that her dad is like, I actually don't think a lot of that happened. Poor Thomas Markle. Poor Thomas Markle, who's not invited. The one that's not invited. Emma Norton says, did you see Prince William and Princess Catherine being utterly charming baking biscuits today in Wales, and William saying how good Catherine's jam is? That's got to burn, eh, Meghan? Probably, but I don't think they do that stuff intentionally. I always want to defend them there because I don't think they're as petty as Meghan is. I think Meghan's pretty petty. I think that these guys have way bigger things, way bigger fish to fry. Vermont Connection says it's all about her joy in cooking. Roy dared to share what made him happy, and apparently metal music doesn't align with what the Meg finds joyful. Hence the death glare that she sent her staff to therapy and reduced grown men to tears. Narcissists always reveal themselves. Now, Vivian Howe says all the talented people in the world, and this is the best Netflix can do. It is a joke, right? Oh my gosh, Andy Husk says, thank you, Netflix, for reminding me to watch Pamela Anderson's cooking show. Augusta Korn says the side eye and mean girl energy she gave when he said they should have met sooner were terrifying. She really is a monster. If this was meant as an enticement to watch, Netflix is in deep doo-doo. I love a good doo-doo reference. Thank you. I feel like I haven't been able to ever say that word on this channel yet, and here we are. Yay.
Now, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, I said what would be hilarious is if we got together and kind of did our own version of a Gogglebox red button fantasy commentary over Meghan's new series?
Yes, Marklebox.
Marklebox.
I thought it was an excellent idea. Here we are.
Here we are. Let's do it. Let's get going.
Oh, my God.
Oh, there she is, Queen Bee.
That's a bit, yeah. Good start. People like me with insect phobias.
It's a high-tech operation, isn't it?
Who is this bee guy? Does he get a name check?
Apparently it's John Lennon.
Back from the dead.
That's where he went.
Oh.
What, you're literally dressed up like it's the peak of COVID in Shanghai. Like she's working in that Wuhan virology lab and she's just knocking about with about 5 bees.
You've missed it. It's so beautiful to be so connected. What does that mean? There she is, not at home.
Not in her house.
No. You mean she means she's employed him for a very long time. He's a member of her staff.
But the guest room.
Yeah.
But with me, it's like, here's a spare pillow and a sleeping bag. There's the sofa.
But she's not at home.
The good morning and good night moment. What's that? A pack of Johnnies and some Alka-Seltzer? So you've got to get a packet of Epsom salts and put it in a different dish.
Arnica. Lots of bumps and bruises.
Bumps and bruises? What is this, a P. Diddy party?
Yeah.
So, hold on. So far, she has decanted salt from one container
to another.
She's put it in another container.
Put some
and then
arnica
she's going to put it in another container. You need 18 containers. Just buy a packet of salt from the shop and have it in the bathroom.
Does she really think that everybody watching this from now on is going to go, this is what I'm going to do before my guests arrive? I'm going to make a huge, great jar of Epsom salts. She's made a tea bag for the bath. Tea bag for the bath. That's what she said.
I know.
I mean,
Well, no wonder she didn't fucking work out well in Britain.
Thanks for coming to stay. I made a tea bag for your bath. Imagine if you said that to someone.
Yeah, that's why the royal family had to kick her out.
Oh, hi,
There he
Daniel.
is.
Great to see you. Have we got some treats for you?
He looks apprehensive.
Epsom bath salts, vegetables cut up. This is your lucky day, Danny. Can I just say at this stage, Alex, that already I'm stunned and shocked at how boring this is. This is breaking new records for Tedium. Why does she think this is interesting?
I have no idea. If I wasn't watching it with you, I think I would have, I don't know, I'd be playing something on my phone by now.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's not the right knife. You need a proper big cleaver. That is bad chopping.
That's not,
You wouldn't see that on Saturday
no shit,
Kitchen,
they
would
do-
you?
you know, what happened to that bit, you know?
With like the Japanese vegetable cleaver. She's there.
I can chop better than that.
And I've learned so much from you. All those years when I was doing my makeup by myself, and I would text you and say, hi, what's on trend right now? What color?
Can you remember far back enough to the days when you used to have to do makeup by yourself?
Yeah, it was about 2 hours ago.
This is like kids cooking, students cooking. Give me one pot and shove everything in.
Yeah, so tomato is
I
chopped
mean,
badly.
I'm sure it's
and,
perfectly edible, but it's hardly a recipe worth showing anyone, is it? Come on round to my place tonight. I'll show you how to make beans on toast. Oh, there's John Lennon again.
What's that? Does she do anything or just be in shot?
John Lennon. He's a crap version of John Lennon.
Pine Shop Lennon.
John Lennon's come back from the dead to be in this series, and he's turned up and said, I'd rather be dead, so he's going to go back. Do you know, the thing is, I've said this about Meghan Markle for a long time now.
But she's great at holding pots.
No, she's incapable of doing anything that isn't profoundly tedious.
Yeah.
She's swallowed somewhere down her life a massive bucket full of boring pills. Everything she does wants to send you to sleep.
She's
so
beige.
we can recommend this to insomniacs everywhere. This is the cure. You'll be asleep within 5 minutes.
This is supposed to be like Live Like Meghan, what you can do at home. Who's got a blimmin' John Lennon and a bee's nest in their garden?
Well, she says that you can get wax from your local beekeeper. You know, I live in the middle of London. Funnily enough, we haven't got a local beekeeper.
This is actually basically the sort of stuff I did when I was 8 years old in Brownies.
Well, I can go one up on Daniel there. I've never touched beeswax in my life.
You're missing out,
Nor looking at this do I ever want to.
Has she done anything yet? She's just melted some beeswax.
This part scares
And this
her.
has taken 10 minutes.
God, get on with it.
Oh, don't let Daniel
It's
need
melting
the equipment.
wax. So these candles are going to take 3 to 4 hours to dry, or whatever you call them, set. And they're now going to go and make a cake that will take 3 to 4 hours. What kind of a life is this? A honey lemon cake? I take it all
It's got to be
back.
honey, though.
I take it, yeah. That's enough honey.
She looks like somebody who's actually never held a spatula in her life, doesn't she?
Or a chopping knife, as we established earlier. I mean, she just doesn't...
again,
she doesn't seem like she's very good in the kitchen.
Her only skill is moving things from one vessel to a different vessel. Here's some stuff in one pot, put it in another pot. Well done.
I just don't... She's just not very good at all this stuff.
No. That oven has never been used.
It is pretty new,
Honestly,
isn't it?
when you open up my oven, it's like bonfire night in there.
But then again, it's not her oven, as we know.
No.
God. I mean, they're almost baking these cakes in real time. I can imagine in a little while she's going to sit in front of the oven and we'll have to watch it bake for 3 hours. It'd be more interesting than this bit. Well, this is it.
What is it? What is the point of it?
That she's not a very good cook, knocking up amateur dishes.
She's beautiful on the inside.
This is what this cake is called, the beautiful on the inside cake.
God.
I'm serious. Well, it's certainly not beautiful on the outside.
Oh, hold on, cut off the corner. Wow, what a genius.
It's her secret hack.
Life hack, Meghan's life hack. You can actually
very
buy
clever.
a piping bag and just put it in your dishwasher, but no, she loves the single-use plastic, doesn't she?
Yeah. Wants to destroy the planet as much as possible. Can you hear that noise in the background? That's the sound of millions of off switches being pressed.
She's invented popcorn, she's invented piping bags, and now she's going to invent, what, honey and lemon?
Well, this syrup seems to have come from nowhere.
No, John Lennon made it and put it in the cupboard.
John Lennon! 1/4 of the Beatles.
Why is she just doing things that everybody knows anyway?
Is that the beeswax going into the tea?
No, that was massive pieces of ginger, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Can't have the John Lennon beeswax in there. Do you know, I actually think people who have all white everything are sociopathic. There's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
It's not someone who cleans their own house,
Very
is it?
California, very West Coast.
You've got to have like a team of cleaners if you're going to have everything white.
This is insane. I feel like this is all fake.
Yeah, I feel like the whole programme is
the whole
all
thing
fake.
is fake.
Yeah, you're sitting with Ms. Fake. This is the view not from Meghan's house. This is the view from the house she rented to make this programme. So it is all fake. You think the editors would know to cut that line out, wouldn't you? So this all feels so fake.
I know. No, it was not fun. What did you learn? We learned stuff together. What? She cooked some spaghetti that she kept calling noodles. She moved salt into 3 different vessels.
She was not modest with her salts.
Poured some beeswax into a jar.
I've never been...
Is that it?
That's 40 minutes of my life I'll never get back. That is it. Here's my TV critics' review of the first episode of With Love, Meghan. I thought it broke new ground in tedium, plumbed hitherto unexplored depths of boredom. I mean, seriously, I am genuinely shocked about how boring that was. Who on earth would want to watch 40 minutes of that absolute dull claptrap? Really bad. What did we learn? As Alex said, we learned how to make a cake, how to pour some candles, make some pasta from a kettle full of water. I mean, it was also mediocre and average. So, with love, Meghan, no thanks very much. Episode 2, enjoy it, everyone. I won't be joining you.
If this is Meghan's project to make her look like a normal person living a normal life, a fully rounded character who is in no way up her own arse, pretentious and beige, then I don't think she's got it right.
Look, there was a time not so long ago when I think Meghan was a part of the real world. But somewhere down the line, well, probably before she hooked up with Harry, somewhere down the line she has disconnected from the rest of the human race. If she thinks that has any relevance for anybody, that anybody can get anything useful out of that episode, then I've got bad news for her. Not going to happen. I mean, hopeless. Absolutely. I'm not just saying this for effect. I am stunned by how boring that programme was.